Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tarda Zone. This is the Tarda Zone Talks. Unfortunately, I've had to do a pre-record because I've just realised I've used up 4 hours and 40 minutes, and apparently you only get 5 hours now. I thought you got 20, but there you go. So we've had to do a pre-record. Hopefully some of me guests, I have been speaking to Jack. He's 10 minutes away, and hopefully the other guests pop in. I have sent them an email, so we will see them when they get here. But we're here to talk about RTD again. And of course, we need to talk about the future of Doctor Who. And obviously, we threw some names out there yesterday of people, realistic and unrealistic, on who we'd like to see take over the role of showrunner. Also, I've been informed that Dopey Hole, who I called out yesterday, is having he's thrown up shit. Apparently, he's slagging the fact that I had 7 people watching at the end of a 4.5 hour stream. Again, he resorts to views and how many people actually watch me. Actually, the stream, thanks to him, has kind of gone past 400 views now. So what he doesn't realise is he's actually driving traffic to me channel. So he's a bit of a moron. But the bottom line is, he called out someone that I highly regard, and it's absolutely disgraceful that he thinks he can get away with that behaviour. But I do see Robert is actually in the back of the studio there. So I'm going to bring him on. As I said, folks, this is a pre-record because I've used up all my hours because of yesterday's bleeding live stream. And I realised as I was setting up the live stream that I wouldn't have had time to do an hour live stream. So that's why we're doing it as a pre-record. But of course, you can get involved when I premiere the video. I'll be in the live chat, and I'm pretty sure some of the panelists will be there as well, and we'll have a bit of a chat there. But let's bring on Robert, because we haven't seen Robert in a while, because obviously I haven't been streaming in a while. So let's bring him on.
Hello. All right.
I am indeed. How was your new year?
Oh, it's a year and it's new.
That's it. Nothing special. Same shit, different year. What? New year.
A little bit of snow, nothing much. All melted.
Yeah, we've had that cold snap. Obviously, you've got the brunt of it in Wales and in England and Scotland, Ireland. We just had a bit of ice. But I tell you something, people overreacting about how cold it is. I remember that used to be that cold when we were getting up in the mornings going to fucking school. Like, we were going to school and all in the snow back in the day. Now they closed the country down for a little bit of bleeding snow. Like a millimetre. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's crazy, it is. But we are here. Go on, Robert. Go on.
They're afraid of people slipping and learning how to walk in the ice, but you have to learn to walk in the ice. Otherwise, you be in your household winter, wouldn't you? So
yeah,
you gotta learn when you're young. When it doesn't hurt so much when you fall over when you're young, but when you're older, you gotta be careful. But yeah, learn when you're young to fall over or slide or have fun.
That's it. I've had a few falls myself now in the snow. I'm not gonna lie, but I have these boots now, so when it does get icy, they've got a good grip on them. Believe it or not, so it's not too bad. Yeah. But she fell. She also fell as well, because where the front gate is, one of the gates is there. There's a side gate, a pedestrian gate. Then you've got the main car gate. But one of the pedestrian gates is beside this old house, and when it rains, the water leaks down beside the gate. So when it freezes over, it's literally like a slide. And she never really used that gate, and the one time that she used it, there happened to be black ice on the ground. She fell.
Yeah.
Like she was actually very lucky, if I'm quite honest with you, because with all the stuff that's wrong with her, like she could have very easily broken something, and then we would have been in deep shit then.
You really got to be careful out there. It's
Yeah,
not so fun.
that's it.
Anyway, I survived the war between the land and the sea, so I'm all right.
Yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to watch it. To
No,
be honest with you, Robert.
you didn't miss much.
Well,
It
I'm
was
kind of glad. I still wouldn't have watched that anyway. I was
no.
pretty done after
Do you want
midway
a,
through the
do you want a
second season.
5-minute highlights?
Doctor Who.
Do you want a 5-minute rundown?
Go on if you want to, yeah, because Jack will be here in 5 minutes. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, basically, they turn up, I don't know where, on some rocks as per the trailer. They're lifted up out of the sea. Oh, it's all dramatic. And then the next time they can't do that anymore. They have to swim up the Thames and up through a pipe which has just been built, overnight, well, over a couple of weeks. So that's inconsistent for a start. And then they're all, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You've got so many years to clean up the planet. Next thing you know, they've automatically, within a couple of minutes, got rid of everything that's in the sea, but the fish people off. So they could have done it anytime they wanted. And then we find out that they can filter the dirt from the sea and the rivers in the gills anyway. So that's not a problem for them. So basically complaining about all the pollution and it doesn't really affect them, but it's all summed up in the last episode really, because it all goes wrong. Usual thing. There's a sneaky bad guy in the background, and there's a poison. Give everybody gets a disease, and the fish people get decimated or cut down by 90% less. And then magically, as there's always magic in these things with Doctor Who these days, the guy in charge, Barclay, who is Joshua Tovey's character, well, the funniest part of it is Kate calls him when he goes off script or does something that he shouldn't have. He helps Salt, the fishwoman, escape, and Kate says, because his name is Barclay Pierre something French, but she's like Barclay bloody Pierre stupid whatever. She's really going nuts about it. That was entertaining for me at least. But it could be taken, as other reviewers have said, as a mental breakdown by Kate Stewart, because at the end of it, Barclay grows gills and swims off with the fishwoman, and she ends up pointing a gun and angrily saying, "But pick up the rubbish."
Oh, I saw that little video. Yeah, I saw that little video where she's gone mad at someone. She's gone mad at someone on the beach, and telling them to pick it up. She's pointing the gun, and she looks like
But the guy on the beach,
saw that clip on.
Surely he lives in the same universe as everybody else, so that he should know why somebody would be. There should be would have been a campaign surely across the world saying, don't litter things, because it's obviously there's these people, these creatures who are really annoyed at us, and because destruction forever. So he's acting as if nothing's happened. She's losing her mind, as you've seen, pointing a gun at him. Pick it up. Having supposedly seen the two people swim off, which may not have happened. It may be all in her head, So what they missed a trick at is they should have at the end said, "Oh, this has been a dark insight into a breakdown mentality." They could have made it into a serious mental health drama that Kate Stewart has finally lost the plot after all these years because she's on drugs and stuff, and she's demanding drugs from her therapist and stuff, and her boyfriend gets shot. Not to give any spoilers, but I
won't be watching this, so it's grand.
No, the what's his face, Ibrahim from the other episodes in Unit, her boyfriend,
Yeah.
the younger boyfriend. Well, he gets shot, see, by these bad guys who want to poison the aqua people, and then they're trying to kill her, but he pushes her out the way and gets shot himself. And but after, as the episode goes on, she's imagining him, and she thinks he's there, but she's hallucinating and stuff. And then she's talking to her psychiatrist, and she says, I got to have the extra pills, you know, I gotta give me more of the pills, double my dose, I'll be right, you know. I can't stop doing this now. The world depends on me, like, you know. So she basically workaholic, crazy person by the end of it. So if they'd described it afterwards, so had a sort of a scene change and sort of said, look, this is what's really happening in the world. None of this has happened. It's all in her head, you know. As I don't know if you know the guy Disparu on he's one of the reviewers. He's in Friday Night Tights these days as well. But he made it's his theory, but it makes sense because nothing else does make sense, because you got all these people who've been, the world has seen these creatures come along, and some of them have killed people. They've killed all the dogs. That was a good one for dog lovers. They blew some shell, and all the dogs ran out of the houses and into their nets, and said, "Oh, what have we done to our dogs?" They said, "Oh, we ate them." I said, "Well, how can you eat our dogs? They're pets." They said, "Oh, you ate our fish. They are our family." And is that sort of pettiness, you know?
Yeah.
And the male alternative to the woman on the advert, the salt woman called Tide, yeah, he gets all childish. She said, because because she helped Barclay survive this bomb underwater. Long boring story. He takes over as the ambassador for the fish people, and he said, "Oh, you started it." Says, "No, we didn't." Yes, you did. You started it. They were talking like a 5-year-old, you know. So it's anybody who hasn't watched it, oh, you lucky people, because it wasn't something you think about, you know. Lately, Doctor Who has been something that you can't think about without it being falling apart in front of your eyes. And the war between the land and the sea was exactly the same.
So the media were bigging this up, and I remember looking at a few journalists saying, while RTD didn't do too well, this is not exact quote, but what they were basically saying was, as well, if Doctor Who fans thought that RTD had did badly with Doctor Who, the war between the land of the sea was more of the RTD that we love and know. So what you're basically telling us is that.
Well, it's a bit like if you cross Praxeus with the one where the pollution's happening. You've got a disease and you got pollution everywhere. All these messages about pollution. It's that sort of thing. It could have been made into a short, about 2 hours shorter, and been a Chibnall episode. You know, it's a long allegory of pollution's bad, okay, and people are bad because they kill most of the aqua kind. So humans are bad, pollution's bad, or you know, and you know, it's not. The people who are celebrating it are the same people who would be going on a march to, you know, let's just stop oil, you know. It's that sort of level of student politics, activism, and like I say, it doesn't make sense as far as the people who are doing all the not debating, the ambassadorship stuff, all the negotiating. That's the word.
Yeah,
we worked up trying to figure out how to explain 5 episodes in 5 minutes.
So the question I want to ask you though is, after watching Doctor Who and after watching this now, would you be looking forward to the Christmas special that's coming in 2026 this year?
No.
So RTD. So you would say RTD needs to go now. This is it for him now, as far as you're concerned.
In one way, the advantage of RTD being around still is that he can't walk away from the mess he made. The disadvantage is that they should have got somebody else to sort out the mess he made, because if somebody made that mess, it probably means they're messy people. And the thing, the way RTD left it, I mean, I've got my pet wish of how to solve it. It's going to be messy next Christmas. I think, because RTD is the way he is at the moment. He's not the RTD of 2005 when things were different in the world altogether.
Well, he certainly isn't the RTD of 2005. We can absolutely agree with that. While I have you on, because obviously we were talking yesterday, or I was talking yesterday, about the fact that RTD allowed his latest squeeze on the TARDIS set for his birthday, which happened to coincide with Doctor Who's birthday as well. Now, obviously, at the time, we didn't know he was his boyfriend. That's obviously broken after the fact. Now, I have said that was inappropriate for RTD to do, to allow him onto the TARDIS set to do a video. As I said yesterday, if they had done a video and kept it between themselves as a little memento, yourself, nobody'd have an issue. But I want to know where you stand on that, because there's been a lot said. He is the current showrunner of Doctor Who right now at the moment, whether we like it or not. And his behaviour and the behaviour that he has exhibited since he came back, it has been very questionable, to say the least. And he has made a lot of questionable decisions. What do you think about this whole thing with Oliver Cole?
Well, if you want my opinion, and it's not a good look, because RTD's obviously living in his own little bubble and what he thinks is right and wrong, and he seems to be a bit self-important and doing everything for himself at the moment. And I don't care what happens to anybody else, sort of thing, without putting on a voice. That's Jack's expertise, not mine. I mean, the same-sex thing put aside, the fact is he's in his 60s, and his other half, so to speak, is a lot of decades.
Well, RTD is 62, and he's apparently 27.
Yeah, which
so
means
there's no more 30-year age gap. Isn't it? 30 years.
I have difficulty getting over the thought that, well, I couldn't have a relationship with that much age gap myself. I'd feel really uncomfortable with it, and really, really uncomfortable with it.
Well, that's what I said yesterday. How could you have something in common with someone that's 30 years your junior or 30 years your senior? Do you know what I mean?
When you think of his age difference, when Doctor Who was brought back in 2005, this Oliver Chappie was 7 years old. He was in primary school. Now, if that doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, I don't know what will, because if it's just there's no I shouldn't do this alarm going off in RTD's head, whether it's to do with what he writes and how he treats the fans, telling people to F off and things. There doesn't seem to be a thing which restrains his self-indulgence, shall we put it. He self-indulges he's used Doctor Who now to be a platform for his activism. His activism is to make himself feel good, because people say how marvelous you are for being a good activist. So he's not in a very good state himself anyway, if he needs somebody else to stroke his ego in that way, to say, oh, you're marvelous you are because you've supported people and people would have died otherwise, that sort of attitude. But
go on, finish your point.
No, it's just the man's not happy by the look of it. I mean, I'm no psychologist, and I don't want to be using pop psychology, but if you think about how he's doing things which are to get praise. You know, he's seeking praise, and he's seeking adulation from people from all different quarters, and that's not a long-term plan for a man in his 60s.
So I'll ask you the next question, because obviously I was going to allow you the chance to talk about RTD and the stuff that's been going on with him. But now we'll change the direction now, and I'll ask you, who would you realistically like to take over? Because I was talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
And obviously I brought Jack on then and PD, and we were talking about it, and this is why I wanted to continue the conversation, because even though we were mentioning names yesterday, after that stream I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, to myself, I was saying, there's not many options out there now. Who do BBC turn to? Like, if RTD gets the axe, and the rumor is, folks, that the Christmas special he's gone, but they summoned him back basically to do the Christmas special, and he's to fix his mess, and then after that apparently he's gone. Now, do BBC relieve RTD of his duties but keep Jane Tranter on board? Do they hire within again, or do they go and look for someone out there that hasn't had any connection to the show? Now, I'd like to ask you personally, who would you like to see take over this show, and why would you like them to take over the show?
Well, the short answer is I'd like to see somebody we've never heard of before. There's too much of this, or passing the baton between people, and sort of thinking, oh well, he was popular before, so he'll be popular again. We know that didn't work with RTD, because so much can change in somebody's life between last time they had a go of it and time has gone on. I cannot believe that there isn't a person out there with skills for directing and writing, and with an genuine interest in science fiction, and with a knowledge of Doctor Who, as far as wanting to make it Doctor Who. Because what the BBC and modern entertainment has made a mistake of, in my opinion, is they've tried to make Doctor Who without it being Doctor Who. They're trying to make it like other things which they think are successful. So they're trying to make things like, well, for want of a better word, they're trying to copy. In the past, they've been copying Buffy, haven't they? They say, or they've been copying Stranger Things, or that's popular, or they're copying a bit of Star Trek, perhaps. So that's gone in the old Discovery era. And so the people who are in charge are copying things which have got a very limited sell-by date, and they're thinking in terms of what's popular at the moment, not thinking what's good. You know, they're trying to join bandwagons rather than saying, look, what we've got is Doctor Who, and Doctor Who is not like everything else. It's like Doctor Who. So they're not making Doctor Who episodes. They're making other things in the shape of Doctor Who, if you know what I mean. They're not.
Yeah, they're chasing. What I found with the new showrunners, Chibnall and RTD coming back, what I have found, Robert, is the fact that they seem to be chasing trends and chasing what's popular at the time, trying to incorporate that into Doctor Who. But Doctor Who that's not what Doctor Who should never be used in that fashion.
No. Well, Doctor Who wasn't trying to be Space 1999, and it wasn't trying to be Blake 7, or it wasn't trying to be, well, some would argue it was in some ways, because they've had base under siege things and that sort of thing, but it wasn't. It was confident in its own thing. It is, as far as I know, just about the oldest sci-fi franchise out there in the world ever in humanity's history. You know, so you've got a simple concept of a man from another planet traveling in space and time, coming into contact with things, experiencing history with his companions, And as I say his, because that's the easiest, simplest way to do things. Because if you start mixing with gender or race, whatever else, you get in the quagmire of gender and racial politics then. So you're not talking about a character anymore. You're talking about a thing to point at, It's like it's Doctor Who. It's not Doctor Who sponsored by Black Lives Matter, It's not you know what I mean? It's not.
No, I get you. That's what I mean.
There's a lack of confidence.
That's where the show has gone wrong, isn't it,
Yeah.
Robert? That's where the show has gone wrong. It's chasing all these trends. It's trying to be popular with the young folk, right? I mean, RTD made it clear as well. Or not RTD. I mean, Chibnall made it clear that he was going for the younger fans, and RTD also made that clear. So it's
the thing. It's silly because people like things because they're good, not because they've been told this is something you're going to like. It's like it's the old comedy cliche of having some guy dressed in primary colours saying, "Hey kids, you're going to have fun now," and the kids are like, "What's wrong with this weird grown up? Like, what's going on?" Whereas we when we were kids in the 70s or 80s, we liked things which made us feel as if we were part of the wider world, We liked things that our parents were watching, or our friends were watching, or older brothers or sisters were watching. It wasn't so balkanized as far as what children watch and what adults watch. We didn't, we saw our children's programs, and then we went on, kept watching television in the evening for what our parents were watching.
Yeah.
And if we were lucky, we stayed up after 9 o'clock, and we'd watch the other things as well, which made us scared, but made us excited, and we could talk about it. It's part of growing up, So seeing Sarah Jane's face fall off, and thinking, "Oh, what happening?" So that's
right. We got Jack behind in the studio there, so I'll bring him on, Robert, because we've only got another 33 minutes because I can only do an hour. So bring Ted out, and then I've got other stuff to do. So
feel free to edit down.
I'm she's away, so I have loads to do. Yourself, keep her sweet. But we got Jack joining us. And remember, guys, it's a pre-record. I just realised as I was doing the live stream, setting up the live stream, that I'd used most of the hours yesterday. You only get 5 hours or something now, and I used 4 hours and 40 fucking minutes yesterday.
You took an hour to do it
because I couldn't fucking stop talking. Remember, I already said I was originally coming on for an hour as well, but I am deadly serious tonight. Yeah. I won't be going any further. But Jack, it's nice to have you, and you've actually joined us at a nice part of the conversation, because Robert has been filling us in with the war between the land and the sea. You didn't miss much, obviously. It was shy. And I just asked Robert there if there were any names of people who he would like to see take over after RTD is gone, because obviously it's rumoured he's gone after the Christmas special this year. And I'd like to ask you that question. We have been talking, and I know your stance on Doctor Who right now. I know RTD personally attacked you also. And I know you're he has ruined your childhood, basically, from the way he's behaved and what he has done to Doctor Who. But is there any names out there that you see that would say that you'd go, hang on a minute, I might give this a go? Or are you just totally done? It doesn't matter who they bring in at this stage.
It's I think it needs a rest, that's for sure. Yeah. But in terms of names, if it was a name I didn't know, a name I hadn't heard of before, because I will admit, outside of the things I like, I'm not much of a television expert.
Right.
But if it's anyone who's been involved in BBC TV shows within the past 20 years or 30 years, then the answer is no, because I said this many times, that if the BBC doesn't change, if you don't deal with the problem at the core, it doesn't matter if they do one utterly flawless series of Doctor Who, you can bet that they'll slowly start, going back to their old ways. And I just think I've been burnt too many times now. Unless I am absolutely certain that these people are out to make the best Doctor Who they can make and they're not politically driven, I'm not saying that I want them to be, ultra conservative either. I don't want them to be left or right. I just want them to make good Doctor Who. The fact that this is too much to ask in modern society is just shocking, But it's like I say, if it gets announced that, oh, this person's taking over and he's been successful on dramas like, fucking Death in Paradise or something, I'm just going to be like, no, or because the BBC is just using. No, it's a part of their cult, a part of their elite group, and I don't care if this person was a fan of Doctor Who growing up. I think we all know what these people are like. We've all seen their TV shows, and like you say, I just think we need an industry purge. We need fresh blood. I'm not against fans coming in as long as they're fresh and as long as they're not a part of that certain group that we all hate. But just new people, new talent, new writers. Maybe an old dog to say, look, this is classic Who, this is what the show was like, and for someone young to go, oh, that's brilliant, we could definitely bring that and make it, look better and be more drawing for a younger generation. It just, unless you get that, this show, because this show at the end of the day is a product of the people running it. When they said Doctor Who reflects society, they really weren't joking. So, like I say, if it's still under this BBC, then it will realize that the sooner we can get on with our lives. I know that might be bleak, but that's just the way I see it. And I did say last year, ago, it's been that long, that if when we were talking about RTD coming back, I don't think he told me to F off at that point, but I said that if RTD gets this wrong, that really will be it for me. And I won't say, it's that Doctor Who's done for me. I mean, I stick on the odd classic story here and there, I still love it. And sometimes, like, I watched Series 6 recently and I really enjoyed Part 1. I hated Part 2, but, I think Doctor Who will always be alive in some way, but I'm just really burnt out. I'm really frustrated. I cannot believe that all this so-called talent that RTD goes on about has an inability to make something that is of the quality that Doctor Who uses. So if we're going to get more of that, it can be whoever. But like I say, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to be politically biased, but if you don't weed out this progressivist, modern, liberal shite, you're not, because these people have proven that they can't tell stories. These people can only repurpose and remake things terribly. But you've got true and Barry Letts, who were on complete opposite sides of the political spectrum. Barry was a bit preachy and he did love to put his politics in there, but leading to some of Pertwee's worst episodes, I think. But you had Terence balancing him out, and I do think Barry Letts is a lovely man. I think he had the heart of the show sussed, but it's like, until we get people like that again, who aren't there to lecture people, who aren't there to think they're on the right side of history when they're obviously not. I'm looking at you, Tennant. It's you're just never going to get anything different. I understand that people want to be optimistic and they want to go, oh, come on, third time lucky. I'm like, really? If you think about it, we're like fifth or sixth time unlucky now. It's that. I mean, I've come to the conclusion that Doctor Who, even though it's the show I grew up with, it didn't really come back, did it? It was some completely altered, completely changed, very hyper camp, thing that came back and was pretending to be Doctor Who, even though I like elements of it. But I just think, Doctor Who, sadly, the original is just a product of a bygone era. And I'm not saying it can never happen again, but I'm just saying if it's going to happen again, it has to be done properly. And in this champagne socialist, we're better than you, television is to push a message, bollocks era, if that doesn't go away, I'm not holding out much hope for Doctor Who's future, because right now it's an embarrassment and people are embarrassed to call themselves fans, as am I. But I will never not recommend, the old stuff like Inferno and all that. But it's just, I was lucky to be raised by my grandparents, so I was very familiar with old television.
Yeah.
But, if you are someone like in my generation or younger who, of no fault of their own, have just grown up with this hyper colorful, super fast, it's going to be very difficult, I think, to get them into Doctor Who when we go through the next wilderness years or whatever's next, because the old stuff is going to be too old and the most recent stuff is going to be too crap. So, it's not going to be a case of my generation keeping it alive.
Yeah.
Yours did, and it's like, if it weren't for your generations, the fans that they told to go away, I don't think that the new Who would have ever happened.
No,
so,
I agree. I agree with you on that. I will agree with you, because you've defended your generation quite a lot. So has Daniel, because I have been very critical of some of that generation, and we know who we're talking about. But I mean, he hasn't. Chibnall or RTD haven't done your generation any favors either, because the radical side of your generation, obviously, wanted all of this. And as you said, you think it's unfair that your generation has been painted with the same brush. All you have been painted with the same brush. And I'd have to agree with you on that. I know I've been very critical. Of course, I don't blame all of your generation. I blame a bit my generation too, though, because, while I was out there, as trying to tell everybody what was going wrong with this show, a lot of our generation fell off very quickly and decided that they didn't have the stomach for the fight. That's what pisses me off, because I think if we had stuck together, I'm not saying BBC would have listened to us, because you are right. There needs to be a whole culture reset at the BBC, but that's going to take years, Jack, because look at the damage they've actually done. It's not just Doctor Who, it's the way people look at BBC now. BBC at one time, as you well know, was a trusted source for news. It was top quality when it came to comedy and entertainment. All of that is gone now. It's like, it really annoys me, because we had momentum. I think we definitely had momentum during the Chibnall era. And I just wish that fans, my generation of fans, had stuck at it and kept plugging away, because I think we would have broke BBC at some stage. I don't think we would have had this whole Who era if we had plugged at it and kept at it. Because let's be honest, the Jodie Whittaker era, right? While we can mark the decline further back, the Jodie Whittaker era was the era that broke the camel's back. Let's be honest, the whole Fugitive Doctor, the Timeless Child nonsense, and all of the stuff that Chibnall was doing, like basically making a mockery of the show's canon. I just thought, look, it's very difficult for me. I'm still a little bit optimistic. I think if you get the right people in, BBC and will have to go on a big charm offensive. But you are right. All of that means jack shit if the same people are still within the BBC. So, let's hope he fucks up the Christmas special so bad that maybe BBC, the hands are forced and they do decide there is no coming back from this, and they decide a break may be the best thing for it. My fear is, though, Jack, if it goes away, I think it'll be longer between classic and new Who. When that came back, I think the gap will be longer. I think it'll probably need that much of a gap anyway to get the bad taste out of our mouth of the previous two eras.
Well, I think we're all going to be still here, fine in 15 years. But I just think, I just think, really, sorry, Robert, it's just.
I'd be 70.
No, go on.
I'll be 70 in 15 years, so I got to. It's. I totally agree with what you said, Jack. But I think there's a deeper problem with the BBC drama department as it used to be. It's all franchised out now, isn't it? But with every drama, there's the first thing they think of, possibly because how they've been taught in drama TV college. There's always some activist storyline, whether it's the I don't know. I don't want to list all the different activisms, but you don't have. And see, when me and Noel were growing up, we had things like Play for the Day, or they had Shakespeare being televised and presented, you know, or some famous author from the 1940s or 30s were, you know, the original Miss Marple televised versions. You know, it wasn't. Let's be controversial and have something to talk about, you know, and until they get rid of that and they think of Doctor Who as Doctor Who, not as an excuse for making a political point, then they've lost a way of. They don't know what they got, you know.
But I think something that not many people talk about is, I mean, it's amazing, and I'm talking about classic Doctor Who here, but it's amazing that something like Doctor Who happened at all, because I think the irony is the BBC always hated it from the very beginning and considered it to be an embarrassment, and I don't think they expected it to be as big as it was, and for years they were like, oh, can we just get rid of this already? And then they finally did when, you know, there was that whole drama that was all artificial, by the way, and it was, you know, JNT gets more blame than he should for that whole situation, but it finally goes away. But then as soon as Doctor Who, thanks to people like Russell the Degenerate and Gardner and all those assholes, Doctor Who finally becomes what the BBC want it to be. It pushes their message, it pushes their politics, their ideals, and all of a sudden it's precious. No, we can't let it go away under any circumstances. It's funny that, because you had no problem killing the original and slagging it off at every opportunity you got.
The difference, I think, the ironic differences between now and then is that in the classic era, Doctor Who was seen as lowbrow, sort of cheap rubbish. You know, it was seen as
so elitist.
It was a silly show.
Yeah,
it's silly show of science fiction. You know.
Sorry, it's like those teachers who, you know, take the piss out of boys for being into robots and aliens. Oh, it's so cheap, you know. Oh, you're one of them. You're one of those inbred common folks, you know. And it's just like, you know, F off. Do you know what I mean?
It's the other way now. It's like well, we're creating such groundbreaking, life-saving stuff by having all these activism stuff. So the actual whole culture in BBC and television has flipped on its head, so that people who used to look down on what we considered good Doctor Who, which was actually a drama and adventure. You know, what a surprise with have adventure and drama in Doctor Who. You know, but now it's the opposite way around. Unless
I'm not well educated in this, as you know, because I'm only 26. But from what I can gather, it just seems like Doctor Who was a fun escapist adventure under a regime of the far right who just want to be all morals and snobbiness and nationalist and all this bollocks. And now you've got an activist propaganda show under the regime of the far left. And what you got the people in the middle sat there going, can we please just have escapism?
Yeah. Well, not quite. Maybe the 80s were, but 60s and 70s we had Labour governments, and very, very far, even further left Labour governments as far as socialism was concerned. Because there's all strikes and industrial action all the time in the 70s. But it's very much, people have gone into BBC and drama departments, and they've gone there because they've thought left wing. They were going to save the world by teaching everybody to do as they're told because we've got the better idea. It's this we're going to make it, we're the best out of history mentality. It's really fascist.
Well, it's like that interview that makes my blood run cold, where that that bitch is fucking going. I don't know who she is, but she's going on about how, you know, and to have that access to children's television, to be able to shape how they think and to be like, this is how you must behave. She's not even hiding it.
It's murky. No. It's very murky.
Like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, whether you are right or wrong, no one has the right to tell you how you should think, because all human beings are flawed. So for someone to come and say, oh, we've figured it out, we've discovered what true morals are, like, you're talking out your ass. It's like all those ancient religions did the same thing. You know, and
the generation that made first 20 years, 30 years of Doctor Who, well, the first 20 years anyway, they grew up in a war, didn't they? So not to be, Uncle Albert about it, sort of during the war. But they saw what could happen if people get too serious and too self-important, and so they'd mock that. They sort of, and all these those empires were mocked on Doctor Who, and they sort of the idea of control and telling people what they could, controlling what people could do, and all the different political groupings and funny little offshoots. Basically, the things which were the enemies in Tom Pertwee's Doctor Who and Tom Baker's Doctor Who were the sort of things who are making Doctor Who now, because they think they're right and they're going to change the world, and the Doctor comes along and said, whoa, no, you don't know what you're doing. I've seen things around the universe, and you're stupid. Stop it now. But these days it's like, oh yeah, I'll join in and we'll educate the masses. And Doctor Who isn't supposed to be educating the masses; it's supposed to be entertaining the masses. And if in the process we say, look both ways when you cross the road and don't waste your money on things which don't last, then fine. But they didn't tell people how to vote or how to think and what makes you a good person.
Can I quote Tom Baker?
Yeah.
The very powerful and the very stupid have something in common. They don't alter the views to fit the facts. They alter the facts to fit the views.
Yeah, exactly. And he's probably quoting somebody else too. But the nearest they got to it is when that time when Missy was said, only people who need armies are people who think they're right. And that was the nearest to old Doctor Who sensibilities that we got in the Moffat era, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, I think Moffat didn't have any agendas. I think Moffat did genuinely love the show. The problem with Moffat was, as I said, he overcomplicated these plots, and he tried to tackle her all the time, and most of the time it didn't land. But by the end, BBC were forcing him to put. He did resist for quite a while, but he did then eventually just say, "Fuck it, sure, I'm out of here anyway. I'll do whatever they ask me to do." But that's why I'm not as angry with Moffat nowadays as I am with RTD and Chibs, because to me those two are worse. They're worse. Chibnall come in with an agenda, right? And RTD definitely came in with an agenda the second time round. I think he probably did back in 2004 when he announced he was bringing the show back. But again, I think he had people there at the time to kind of rein him in, and he didn't get to do all of the stuff that he got to do. Because remember, even back then, he was saying mad stuff that he wanted to do and he was told he couldn't do. So it's always been there with RTD. I just think he got the opportunity this time. I think the only reason why he came back is because he saw that 100 million there. He knew that he would get to do whatever he wanted to do, and that's why he came back. And he also admitted he came back to do the Sea Devils spin-off. That was one of the main reasons of coming back in the first place. So he didn't really come back even for Doctor Who. He wanted to use that money for vanity projects, basically, but happened to be in charge of Doctor Who. So he said, "Fuck it, I will use Doctor Who as a platform now to push my agenda and my ideology." And as you said earlier on, Robert, he's a very He's a very angry man. He's a very bitter man. I don't know. I just
he needs praise, doesn't he? He's seeking it's not assurance. He's seeking people to say you're a really nice man and well done. You do really good, and that's not the way to. You don't do therapy on the license fees, pays money, do you? It's not right. I mean, what I will say for going forward, as far as whoever takes it now, as complicated as Moffat was, especially with the River Song life storyline, he did at least consider that time travel stories could be messed with the order of things happening, because when you're time traveling, you're not going to see things linearly the same as everybody else. So they'll bump into people who he hasn't met yet, or he has met, but they don't know they've met him yet, or when they meet him and when he sees them isn't the same time. So that's. But then again, the BBC people might say, "Oh, that's too complicated for people to understand," because they look down on the public, whereas the public can be intrigued by things like that, about time travel and seeing things in the past and looking at how people lived in the past and how it relates to how we can live in the future or the present. They got so much possibility. They're not making use of what they've got with time travel and the whole of the universe. Every planet they could even imagine or think of, every type of society they could think of, and they spend their time talking about whatever is this week's activism nonsense.
Well, that's why they keep making monsters look human, because they are thinking about the agenda first, and they want the monsters to be more human so that we can identify with them. It's like, no, I just want monsters. Yeah. I mean, the Silurians, they had personalities and they raised questions, whether you agree with Malcolm Hulke's politics or not. But they felt so human, and yet they still looked so cool and alien at the same time. That's why I loved. I mean, I was a huge fan of dinosaurs, so it was like a dream come true for me. And then Nuhu just making the Silurians into like lesbian lizards. I just like, no, I'm sorry.
Don't need it.
They do it with all the bloody monsters, and with Moffat as well. He made the thing too fairy tale like, and if you did eventually get a good monster like the Fish King, you're like, wow, that looks amazing, swept away from a dam bursting in a few minutes. It's a bloody fish.
He's a Fisher King, isn't he?
So how's it dead then? It's annoying me long before but I kept watching because I was a fan.
Yeah, we had some good episodes in Moffat's era, but we also had some stinkers like the trees that appeared and vanished, and the Forest of Night, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and Kill the Moon was another stupid one because that's
do you know what? Everybody mentions that episode, the one with the trees all over London and all. I've always had a soft spot for that. I've never understood the criticism of it.
Well, my criticism of it was, as far as it goes against, if it's science fiction, it's got to have some sense to it, scientifically wise, right? Now, I think things appearing and disappearing, that's magic. It's not science. That's Earth Gaia magic. That is, the planet is protecting itself by magically appearing trees, which never happens again in any other story where the Earth is under threat.
Sorry,
and then
I'm sorry, any respect I had for you is gone.
That sister who was lost, and she suddenly appears behind a hydrangea on the street. Oh, I know you were there somewhere. Oh, I'm feeling see the little sparkly lighter on me. Oh, that sort of thing. And you can't have science fiction when it goes against known science. Like Kill the Moon, you can't have the moon turn into an egg of a giant space dragon.
But I think what sums it up is Moffat. If you listen to him in interviews, this just sums him up. It sums all of the Fitzroy lot up. It's like, Doctor Who's that show where you can do anything. Anything can happen. It's like, no, it has to have a certain believability behind it. And that's the problem, is because they wrote themselves into corners and they didn't know how to get out. So like, I know, let's just make up the rules as we go along. And they've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, well, this is why we got the second TARDIS, which was done by magic.
I got a surprise for you.
You can't, Doctor Who, you can't have magic in a science fiction program. You can't have fantasy in a science fiction program. If you're going to have a program which was started off by being science, the intrigues of science and the wonders of possibilities of science, and the traveling and the seeing things in the past and showing people now how people used to live and how that influences the choices they made and how that influences how things are now, the Romans or the Vikings or the whoever else, or the cavemen, even that's just on Earth, but you can't have somebody hitting a TARDIS with a hammer and it becoming brand new, or people who are always splitting off and becoming two people and one not doing anything while the other one goes off and and that girl who swallowed a star the other day, the time, Joy to the World, and that, it's become too much of a fantasy show, and that's not what Doctor Who was invented as.
Yeah, but that Russell's never been able to write sci-fi.
Yeah,
it's the thing is though, and just before some people might point out hypocrisy, because I do love The Impossible Planet and The Satan Pit. Yes, that's got very religious undertones to it, but it's presented in a way that has the science there. You've got the base on the asteroid or whatever it is. You've got the black hole, and you've got it manages to present it in an idea of maybe it's something we just don't understand. Like, I've got no problem with that. I'm not saying, like, you can do magic to an extent, but you have to do it cleverly. Like, you can't have literal fairies flying around the place. Yeah. So instead, in Torchwood, those fairies turned out to be these evil, alien-looking creatures. But, Torchwood was where the seeds were really planted for all this just ridiculousness.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with Impossible Planet, Satan Pit, yes, you never find out what it is, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, I'm spiritual myself. I'm not religious, but I just think when you present an idea like that, is it the devil? Isn't it? Where does it come from? It's like, just use your imagination, but it presents it in a way that fits the style of Doctor Who. It doesn't compromise the aesthetic for the story.
It could still be an alien, couldn't it?
Yes. Well, it never definitively tells you. So it's like, well, what do you think? No. I mean, but it still has a cool science fiction look to it.
Mm.
And that's absolutely fine for me. It's why it's one of my favorite stories. In New
2 minutes no.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things. When we look back at the New Who era, it's the whole lot of it. I mean, maybe the 4th series, I think Jack said yesterday, I was in agreement with him, is probably the most consistent. And then after that, it became very inconsistent. I do like season 3, I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I did like season 4. But again, within those seasons, it wasn't consistent. So the only consistent series actually has been the 4th one. After that, then, it's been inconsistent, but it managed to capture an audience. It's got to be very difficult for them to move forward, especially, look, because how everybody feels about, you can already tell now that this year, right, obviously, because the Christmas special is coming up, he's going to be talking about, they're going to be filming, so he's going to be insufferable in the next few months, right? We're going to have to listen to his fucking shite. We see what he has to say, and hopefully he kind of lets us know early on that this is his last. I don't want BBC to be fucking around with this either. Even though I agree with Jack, there needs to be a cultural change, but it's at least if they get rid of him and Bad Wolf, that's a fucking start, right? But it's the organisation of the BBC inside that's rotten to the core. So I don't know how well Doctor Who can do if it's still under that regime, because look at it, the last 2 eras in particular, it hasn't set the world on fire, and it probably should. Remember Chibnall's era, we talk about RTD getting the 100 million, but before he got that, Chibnall was back to the hilt. Like, BBC threw a shit ton of money at at his era as well, and he fucked it up. So BBC have been burned twice now, and this time, obviously, the second time Disney have been burnt as well, because they wasted 100 million on this show. So they've been both burned, and BBC have been burned twice now. So do they learn their lesson, or do they continue down the same stupid path? And that's what we're going to find out now in the next few months, I reckon. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. We do know, and I know for a fact, that they don't want they don't want Doctor Who. BBC don't want Doctor Who to go away, so they're determined to keep it going. It's probably lunacy now at this stage, but they're determined to keep on. So as my message was yesterday, BBC need to start listening to the criticism of why it hasn't done well, and just take it on board and then go from there. But we know what this organisation is like. I mean, even after they've been called out by Ofcom, Donald Trump, and basically everybody, they're still doing the same shit on their news, lying to people with their news programs and their political programs, and they've gotten into trouble over something else. So they don't seem to be an organisation that care about the criticism, and this is what we're fighting, unfortunately. In some ways, I would love to see Donald Trump win his case against the BBC, because maybe that would shake them up. Because I don't see any other way of them changing back what BBC was known for. They've gone in this direction, and they don't seem to be stopping anytime soon. If anything, they seem to be doubling and tripling down on the nonsense. Even it doesn't matter whether it's an entertainment show or a reality TV show. You can see the DEI and the Diversity and Inclusion Act that they announced a few years back is in full swing. There's people on that TV screen that shouldn't even be on the TV screen because they're not talented, but they're there because they've got to fill quotas, BBC, and shows as well. And this is the thing, people don't get this. When you have all of that shit and employees are told, well, you've got to do this, or people that are running shows, well, you've got to do this, that, and the other. You've got to have a certain amount of black people, a certain amount of women, whatever it is, right? Remember, when this probably first started, there would have been people resisting it, but now they've all sold out. See, that's the thing. None of these people actually believe all the shit that they're preaching. I say RTD does. I think he does genuinely believe the shit that he preaches. But the majority of the left, you look at them, they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, so they don't even have independent thought. And that's what's happening at the BBC. They're all collective in this goal of wokenising everything and making everything politically correct, so that don't upset anybody. Even comedy now on the BBC is dead because they're afraid to let a comedian, cause controversy or tell a joke. Sometimes jokes are supposed to offend and make you laugh at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. We grew up with an era of comedians that didn't give a shit, and half of the shit they said back then, they'd be cancelled today if they said the shit that they said back then. Do you know what I mean? So look, Doctor Who's future is in flux right now. BBC, will they do right by it? I will say this: I still don't believe that even though they want to keep it, I think they're tone deaf. I think they're blind. I think they refuse to listen to the criticism. And I think they will continue, even if they get someone new in. I think they will continue down the same path unless there's a big culture change at the BBC. Or maybe, hopefully, in time, Donald Trump wins his fucking case against them and they have to pay him. And then maybe then they'll start thinking, oh, we've got to actually start making quality programs now to make money because we're screwed. Right? But it shouldn't take the president of the United States to sue the BBC for them to get their act together anyway. Do you know what I mean? They should have got their act together a long time ago. They're supposed to be in the business of making. I don't get it. Like a lot of you've seen all the stuff with the studios in America, right? Merging together, Netflix buying out Warner Brothers stuff, yeah. And all of the stuff that's going on there, right? Because studios are failing because they've been making shite for the last, and then they're wondering why they're failing. Like, fans have been telling you for decades. Oh, well, at least this decade anyway, have been telling you these have gone wrong, and he's refused to listen. And BBC is in that same position. But lads, we've got to wrap it up there. But if you want to do another pre-record during the week, the both of you are on X anyway. You can send me a DM and let me know what days actually suit you. And we will continue this conversation again, and we'll talk about other stuff as well. And then in a few weeks' time, I reckon they'll start kicking into gear now, getting ready for this Christmas special, because they'll have stuff to do behind the scenes before they officially start filming. So we should start getting news, I say, by February or March. I say February anyway, because I say they might start filming in March. You know, they won't be filming at the end of the year for this fucking crit. Like, they probably film in March. In March, they'll probably start filming in June. Because they're not doing a whole season, do you know what I mean? They're doing a fucking Christmas special. But there'll be plenty of Doctor Who news to come, folks. But before I let the lads go, I'll get them to do the usual shout outs. And of course, guys, you know the usual suspects to go and support. And if you could give this stream a like, I really appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section as well if you want. And that's me. I'll hand you over to Robert now.
All right. I'd recommend everybody who has crossed the path in this community, as they call it, or fellowship or whatever, of the Doctor Who debate commentators. My channel is a bit of a mixed bag of different things. I'm doing more talks lately because I can't make models this time of year. And so I've got a few opinions of this, that, and the other. But yeah, nothing really to advertise except keep your viewing broad, and hope that maybe Doctor Who will be good one day. But I wouldn't hold your breath with RTD, that's for sure.
That's it. Thank you for that, Robert. Jack?
I've got a YouTube channel, Drawing Jack Rabbit, where I review action figures. And it's been a bit dead for a couple of months, but that's just because I've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. But I've recently got some very cool and sadly very expensive things. So I'll definitely be showing those off and making the best videos I can. And I'm hoping to also get my podcast channel back up and going again and see if I can add my own voice to the pot. Not that it will mean much because it's a very loud pot, but there you go. And hopefully I'll get some cool guests on. Maybe you guys, if you're ever up for that.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll come and support you, Jack, anytime.
Yeah, so hoping to get that up and going yet, but I just need to get the personal stuff out the way first.
Fantastic. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this discussion that we've had on RTD Doctor Who. Even at the very start, we myself and Robert, Robert was filling us in with the news on the war between the land and the sea. And from what I've gathered, this whole RTD universe that he tried to launch has been an epic failure. And we've got one more epic failure to go. Christmas 2026 is going to be ruined because, unfortunately, we do have a Doctor Who Christmas special coming up.
We might have a Doctor Who special, whether it be shown or not, I don't know. It's a bit early days yet, isn't it? Anything can happen.
I think it's still, I think the Christmas special is definitely happening. I think that is definitely happening. So, look, Christmas special is good. Look, Christmas this year was shit for me anyway. So, like, I mean, next year, ruining Christmas, this Christmas won't fucking bother me, to be quite honest with you. But, you know, there will be a Doctor. I said I won't do it. I'm not reviewing it, and I'm not. So, like, there's no point because I don't like this curtain there. I don't like it. So what's the point? I've done me dues now, right?
Yeah.
Said I wasn't going to watch the Fish People, and I didn't. I'm not watching this Christmas special, right? Until RTD is gone, until I see moves in a positive direction, then this show has lost my support, my loyalty. I'm gone because I can't keep watching this show get destroyed week in, week out. And as I pointed out as well, by the way, when you look at the Doctor Who ratings for the last series of RTD2, there's no AI for any of the episodes, right? They still have the AI up. And if you haven't put the AI up, then it's down below 80, right? 80 is classed as a success. Anywhere under 80, it goes down to the 70s, which it has in the past. That's a disaster for Doctor Who. So this is the reason why they haven't actually released the AI score for Doctor Who, because they know it was a complete and utter shit show. Even it didn't even feature on Disney top 10 lists either. So an absolute disaster of epic proportions, and we've got one more fucking shit show to go, and he happens to want to ruin our Christmas. Well, fuck you, RTD. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Good night, folks. I want to thank Jack and I want to thank Robert for joining me. We'll be back again soon. I hope you enjoyed this stream. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you for the next one. Goodbye.
All right.
Bye.